Formula One fans, breaking news just emerged that has literally shocked me. An explosive declaration. Scandalous. That will spark debate for weeks. Ferrari president John ELKANN just gave an interview to Sky Sport that leaves very little room for interpretation. He goes incredibly hard against the drivers, against Hamilton and Leclerc. But wait until you hear what he actually said, because his words are an absolute bombshell. Prepare yourselves. An interview released right after Ferrari's victory in the WEC in the Endurance World Championship. An incredible, historic triple victory. And instead of celebrating, instead of uniting the team, ELKANN decides to attack the Formula One drivers, saying things that leave you speechless, that make you reflect deeply, that raise enormous questions. We won the Endurance Championship. It was an extraordinary emotion in Bahrain with car number 51, but generally Ferrari with the constructors, and a historic triple in the Drivers' Championship. Marvelous winning both as constructors and as drivers. It's a beautiful demonstration of when Ferrari is united, when everyone is together, you can obtain great things. It's a project that works, that moves forward, because there are the right working methods. And up to here, everything sounds good. Deserved celebration, historic victory. But then comes the low blow, the comparison with Formula One that has absolutely nothing to do with it. We can say that on one side we have our mechanics who are in fact winning the championship with their performance, with everything that's been done on pit stops. But what does this phrase actually mean? Are the mechanics making pole positions? No, they're winning the pit stop championship. It's very similar to a phrase from a few years ago, at least we made the fastest lap. The mechanics are certainly a spectacular, fantastic part of the team. This year they've made an incredible step forward, and in Ferrari the mechanics are definitely not the problem. This is obvious. If we look at our engineers, there's no doubt the car has improved, but this is what really has no reason being said. How can you say the car has improved? Where did this SF25 start from? Where had the SF24 arrived? And where was this SF25 supposed to arrive? It's true, they won the sprint race in China at the second appointment and never won again. We know how China went. Has the car improved? No. The car probably stabilized, but it has no point of strength compared to 2024 and even to 2023. In 2023, Red Bull won every race except one. The only race not won was brought home by Sainz on Ferrari. In 2022, the project had started and begun well. Saying the car has improved seems like giving a moral slap right to the drivers. If we look at the rest, it's not up to standard. What exactly isn't up to standard? The engineers are up to standard. The mechanics are up to standard. So what remains? Vasseur and the drivers. And now he says it clearly. Certainly we have drivers, and it's important they concentrate on driving, that they speak less, that we have important races ahead of us. It's not impossible to obtain second place. This is the most important invitation. The demonstration is that when Ferrari is a team, we win. The comparison with WEC? I didn't deserve this. I didn't think it could ever really happen. But it actually happened, and the president himself said it. This is an interview that will generate massive discussion. The drivers aren't up to standard. Drivers, plural. That one has done more than the other. That more was expected from one than the other. We can discuss this. But that drivers speak a bit too much outside the Ferrari nucleus. Compared to the past, it's true. But why? Because there's Hamilton. Lewis has never been a driver who stayed quiet, and Lewis can afford to speak because he's won everything. He's statistically the best driver in history. He can afford to speak because he wants to motivate the team? The problem is, Ferrari's president has made it clear that there's too much talking going on. This isn't good. This isn't the Ferrari philosophy. Speak less, do more. But do exactly what more? Because if you're saying the engineers are right, it means the drivers are mediocre. It means calling Leclerc mediocre, who can't do better than 7 podiums this season. And a Hamilton who hasn't made podiums, won 1 sprint. though in recent races he's gotten closer to Charles in qualifying and also in races, although he always has a declining phase. He's not entirely wrong about Hamilton. Why do we talk about Hamilton? We can't talk about Leclerc in the same way. For interview discourse reasons, the only thing Charles says is that often he's angry, but he never goes against the team. Charles deserves credit for this. Lewis instead has had no problem saying there are things happening behind the scenes, but I can't tell you. He had no problem saying it already mid-season in Montreal, where I stopped and said something is breaking. And now ELKANN confirms it. Something is really breaking, but doesn't everything end at year's end? Because this could really happen. Hamilton leaving? Total rupture? I don't know, but the climate is extremely heavy. I remain with my idea, my philosophy. I worked in Ferrari for 4 seasons, 3 years in the virtual department. I saw people working, saw the entire Ferrari environment. They seemed like wonderful, fantastic, prepared people. But I didn't have the possibility to speak or comment beyond that because it's not part of a premium brand like Ferrari. That's how it is, and I believe Hamilton is realizing this a bit too late, as much as he wanted to crown the dream of driving for Ferrari. The same thing that happened with Alain Prost is happening. Christian Horner arrives, Toto Wolff arrives at Ferrari. But do you think something would change? Nothing would change, because Ferrari's philosophy is this: stay silent, don't criticize, don't speak. I remained astonished. It's the best term to describe what he said regarding the engineers and that the car has improved. Yes, improved from when? From where? From what starting point? It's a bombshell interview that will change many things, that will generate massive discussion, that raises enormous questions. Why publicly attack the drivers when they don't have the car to win? When they're maximizing what they have? ELKANN says the engineers are up to standard, that they've made an improved car. But then why aren't they winning? Why isn't Hamilton making podiums? Why is Leclerc struggling? If the car is good and the engineers are skilled, the only explanation is that the drivers are inadequate. But is this really the explanation? Or perhaps it's more convenient to blame the drivers rather than admit the SF25 project is wrong? That development went in the wrong direction? That the car isn't competitive? The truth is, Ferrari hasn't given the drivers a winning car. The SF25 started poorly and never truly improved. It just stopped getting worse. Leclerc is performing miracles, bringing home podiums with a car that doesn't deserve them. Hamilton is suffering, it's true. But he's also understanding what it means to drive for Ferrari. The pressures, the expectations, the philosophy. And perhaps he's regretting the choice, perhaps thinking he should have stayed at Mercedes. This interview will change everything. The relationship between ELKANN and Hamilton, between management and drivers, the atmosphere inside Ferrari. How will Hamilton and Leclerc concentrate when the president publicly says they're not up to standard, that they talk too much? It's disastrous management. Instead of protecting the drivers, instead of taking responsibility, everything gets dumped on them, as if they were the problem when the real problem is the car and who designs it. The timing of this interview is particularly telling. Right after celebrating WEC success, ELKANN chooses to throw Formula One drivers under the bus. It's almost as if he's using endurance racing victories to highlight Formula One failures, making an unfair comparison between two completely different racing categories. What message does this send to Hamilton and Leclerc? That despite extracting maximum performance from an uncompetitive car, despite their talent and effort, they're still not good enough? That they should just shut up and drive without expressing frustration about obvious technical deficiencies? This approach fundamentally misunderstands modern Formula One, where driver feedback is crucial for development. Teams like Mercedes and Red Bull succeed partly because they listen to their drivers, incorporate their insights, create collaborative environments where everyone contributes to solutions. Ferrari's traditional approach of demanding silence while blaming drivers for engineering failures has never worked in the modern era. It didn't work with Alonso, it didn't work with Vettel, and it won't work with Hamilton and Leclerc. The irony is painful. ELKANN praises mechanics for pit stop performance and engineers for car improvement, leaving only drivers to blame for lack of victories. But pit stops don't win championships without fast cars, and engineering praise rings hollow when the SF25 can't compete with McLaren, Red Bull, or even Mercedes consistently. This public humiliation of two world-class drivers will have consequences. Hamilton didn't leave Mercedes after years of success to be publicly criticized by Ferrari's president. Leclerc didn't dedicate his career to Ferrari to be told he talks too much when expressing legitimate frustrations. The real question is whether this represents Ferrari's actual position or just ELKANN's personal frustration manifesting inappropriately. Either way, the damage is done. Trust eroded, relationships strained, team unity compromised right when Ferrari needs solidarity most.